Hey everyone, so we're just chilling out here. It's a beautiful day, and if you're someone who just can't seem to say no to people, or you're a people pleaser, you're always trying to make sure everybody's, happy with you, making sure, you're leaving a good impression on people, um, and you're not really, you don't feel happy, you feel like everyone else is happy except you, then this video is just for you. This video is all about self-awareness, pretty much minding only your business and not anybody else's, excuse me. um, and that would definitely be the first thing you got to do. You got to stop caring about what other people think. To put it into a good perspective, at least for me, um, this is your life. Only you can see out of your eyes, and you control the voice that comes out, and the words that come out and what they mean and all that. You can't control what someone else says. You can't control the way they think. Vice versa, they can't control the way you think. So you need to be upfront with your own thoughts and your own feelings just as they are, or at least the way they come off to be. A lot of times, like we're talking to each other and everyone's, you're trying to impress me, I'm trying to impress you, I think you hate me, you think I hate you, and we're just there sitting there like, trying to act like everything's, fine and dandy, and the reality of it is that we're all pretty insecure. From a really young age, we've our wanting to be accepted, has just been crumbled. We all came to school, realizing that there's different kids out there, that there's the and they're all, we're all the same, but what makes me unique, like we all can write the same, we all can do tests the same, and PE is just about the same. So what makes me so different from these kids? And you always try to stand out, you try to find, what makes you you. And but some people again get too wrapped up in what others think, and the what it is to be cool, I guess you could say. Like, in my school, like when I was in elementary school, if and I'm sorry, middle school, if you didn't, wear shoelaces, or do your hair up in a ponytail, wear earrings, have the nicest shoes, you were a nobody, and people would single you out, and make fun of you for it. So me personally, I did get into a lot of that. I was always trying to just blend in. I knew that I was different. I knew that what everyone was talking about was complete nonsense. They were always talking about fights and girls and boys and drugs, and like, this was middle school where the hormones are flying and stuff. But it always made me, again, it made me just feel, again, more isolated. It made me feel more different. And every time someone talked to me, I had to put on this persona that, I was this girl that I really wasn't. And by the time I got to middle school is when I is when I started hanging out with like the metalheads. I started hanging out with like the emos, the goths, and um, I'll tell you, like, they were probably my closest, like the people who I resonated with closest, because I guess that's what I was feeling. I was really sad and depressed myself, but one thing that I noticed, and that's how I broke free from it, which is, again, that they stay stuck in their sadness. All they want to do is talk about the problems and the shitty, again, like, not to single out stereotypes, because not all of them are like that. I had a lot of friends who were actually, pretty cool, and they're still pretty cool. It's just, I guess they stay as the artist, like, well, anyway, not gonna get into that, but yeah, that's definitely the first thing you have to do, is really stop caring about what people think. If you're not making yourself happy, if you're not being yourself, then if people do say they like you, they're not really liking you, they're liking the person that you're coming off to be, which again isn't you. So it's like, it's false, it's not real. So be as real as you can, and then you'll know that the people who like you definitely like you for you, and you don't have to pretend to be something you're not. You could just flow, you could just do as you please, not fearing to be judged. No matter what, even our loved ones and everyone else, they are going to judge us, but that shouldn't change it. That shouldn't change you, or what you feel. Just because, let's say, you don't like when someone does something, doesn't necessarily make it wrong or mean that they're bad for it or anything like that. It's just an opinion, and we should all respect our own opinions, and just love each other. So pretty much, yeah, so what was I saying? The first thing is to stop caring about what people think. The second thing is to now just focus on what makes you happy. You know, again, your whole life you've grown up knowing what makes everyone else happy, but now what makes you happy. I have a friend that likes to dance, you know, and for some reason he's in a psychology class, you know, and he's taking psychology classes. He wants to become a psychologist or something like that, but he loves to dance, and he's always complaining about school and about work and about all this other stuff. And he, whenever he gets a chance, I mean, he dances, you know, like that's like his passion in life, you know. And what I learned from him, because he did eventually leave school for just to dance, you know, what I learned from him was, you know, everyone was like, oh, you know, my son's going to be a psychologist, you know, or my friend's going to be a psychologist, and he's going to school and he's doing, but no one ever saw behind the screen, you know, how unhappy he was. And he really didn't want to be doing that. You know, again, he was very good at it. He was very good at studying body language and understanding the way the human mind works, but that wasn't where his passion was. His passion was with dancing. So he let go of all of that. And again, he still found a way to balance the both. You know, he still helps people every single day, you know, just with the knowledge that he has learned. But he dances. He just dances, and he's around people who love to dance as well. It's like he stepped into his true authenticity, and now his life is even better than what he could have imagined it to become. You know, like, imagine if he would have had to have sit in an office again, 9 to 5, helping people. You know, it's like it's the same routine with jobs, you know. So it's like, find what makes you happy. If you're at a job that doesn't make you happy, leave that job. The job's not for you, you know. Like, just because you're making good money and because everyone is going to look at you like such a success, and if you quit it, everything, all that's going to be gone. Just remember, this is just the opinion of others. You know, you're the one that really defines true success. You know, like, if you are able to feed yourself and you have a roof over your head, water, and I mean, you're awake, you're already there. You know, you're already there. You're blessed. Um, and all you need, again, is a little bit more support. Always surround yourself with the people who are going to support you. Um, my family, again, like, I have no shame in saying that I stick around my family all the time, you know, and not to get it confused with mooching off of someone either. You know, you do always have to do your part. You know, if you're gonna be sticking around your family and not working, do everything you can in your power to help them. You know, that's what you're there for. And, you know, that's what I've realized along my thing too, is, again, just focus on what makes me happy. My main passion in life is to see other people happy, and including my family. So if me staying at home, pretty much chilling, washing dishes, doing some clothes, you know, cooking food, you know, nothing big. I love to cook anyway. I love to see order. If that's all I have to do, you know, just so I don't have to work a 9 to 5, and then I can also figure out myself what I want to do in life and all that stuff, then by all means, you know, like, I will accept my family and their you know, their greatness, you know, their willingness to give their home to me, and I will help back. You know, I will always contribute my part, you know, to make sure it's balanced, to make sure it's fair, you know. So the second thing, focus on what makes you happy. Don't worry about everyone else. They need to figure out what makes them happy, and you shouldn't find your happiness outside of you. All you have is yourself at the end of the day. You know, like, everybody can be gone and stuff. All you have is yourself and pretty much Earth, you know, like, she has water out there for you, the free oxygen. You know, again, even if your food supply is taken away, your air supply is still there. I don't know. Just, just an insight, I guess, on gratitude. Another thing, which is, okay, one was that, almost forget what everyone says. I'm sorry, everyone knows that I forget things, but forget what everyone says. 2 is focus on what makes you happy. And 3 would be almost be born again. You know, I know it's really, I've asked a lot of people, what is your earliest childhood memory? And a lot of people, around 4 to 7 is what they give me. 4 to 7 years old of age. That's the last thing they can remember from being a kid. And usually it's like a birthday party, or it's like just a special event that they remember, you know, that meant something to them. And this is actually a problem. because our minds, our memories are able to contain, I mean, infinite amount of it. There's infinite amount of space up there. So um, during childhood, you know, we know this from psychology and childhood development, that from childhood, that's where everything begins. That's how you start to shape who you're becoming, you know, because your mind is the most absorbent at that point. So everything that you're being shown or being taught is just what's going to resonate with you. So I always like to tell people, you know, if you can ever remember, you know, the things that you cried for, you know, or you know, I don't know, most kids threw tantrums, you know, most kids, you know, cried and did things that they know is kind of weird now. But what did you do it for? Because as a kid, you knew what you were standing up for. You knew what you wanted. So if you can go back to when you were a child and pretty much pretend like you're sitting right next to the old you know, like, again, just pretend like you're sitting right next to the little you and talk to them, you know, like, hey, what's up? You know, this is me in the future. You know, like, what happened? What, you know, like, try to figure out, again, what it, because, again, if you've lost your ability to think for yourself and to pay too much attention to others, that means you haven't really been yourself this whole time. It's been like an ego or a persona, you know, that you're putting off to please the people. But there's a little kid stuck inside of you that is like, again, that's just kind of stuck, you know. He's the one that's controlling the ego or the persona. He's the one controlling it. So you need to figure out, you need to help him grow again, you know. You need to help him realize again that it wasn't your fault that anything bad happened to you as a kid, if it did, or it wasn't anyone's fault. It's not your parents' fault for miseducating you, if they did. Most parents do. It's not your teacher's fault. It's not the bully's fault. It's not your ex-boyfriend's fault. It's nobody's fault. Everything that has happened in your life has been solely based on your decisions, and the reason you've been making these decisions is to help you get to this point right now, to help you look for videos and look for help on ways to find yourself again. And that's what we're here for, you know. Like, we're for anyone, again, who's found out the secret, you know, who's found out the issue. The problem has never been outside. The problem is not this. This does nothing but supply air for us and grow and feed itself. They don't start wars, they don't fight, they don't judge, they don't have you know, they just sit there. So the problem is not outside of you. The problem has always been inside of you. The choices you've made, the things you've been taught, but everything you've learned, you can unlearn. I always tell people an example with race. We all know that race was made up by humans. The animals don't see it that way, you know. They don't divide each other. You see a zebra drinking from the same water as a lion, you know, from the same lake. So they don't believe in all that. That's just something we've made up to separate each other. There is one race, and we're all a part of that race, no matter what color your skin is, and that is the human race. Whether you have a lot of pigmentation in your skin or none of these will define whether you're an asshole or not. You're the one that defines that. The person up here that controls the words, that's the thing that controls who you are. Everything outside of you has nothing to do with it. If you can ever realize that race was completely made up and that it doesn't exist, you would see the world a little bit differently. You wouldn't see yourself as a nationality anymore, like, I am Puerto Rican. No, you're not, you know, or I am whatever. You're not. You're a human. You're you. You're something really special. You're not even your name, you know. Like, if your name is Ashley, I'll tell you, I've met about 5 other Ashleys in my life. Who you are is, again, what makes you different from everyone else. And you'll find it. You'll see, when you talk to people, you'll see the difference between yourself and them. Not to judge, but of course, just to see what you brought to this world and what they're bringing to this world. Our purpose is here in this world. And I'm gonna try to wrap this up. So the last one, which is the 4th one, is meditation. I've said this in a video before. Meditating helps you clear your head. Unless you have never meditated before, you of course you know how hard meditation can be. You know that your mind is constantly talking to itself. It's constantly in action. Your mind is constantly constantly, all day. Even again, the fact that I'm scratching my ear, I have no idea that I'm using my brain to tell myself to do that. It's crazy. But we're also keeping up in there opinions, again, things we have learned, things that we believe, things that might not even be true, but we're still believing them. Meditation helps you clear it. It really helps you clear it. Once you start seeing what's in your mind, I'll give you guys a good insight. Whenever I start meditating, the first few things I start thinking about is my friends, you know, just their own problems. And I start thinking about the things I could have said differently to help them. You know, I always feel like when I help someone, you know, I do help them, but I feel like I could have done more. You know, so that's what I end up thinking about. And I also start thinking about, you know, my family, their health. I start thinking about things like this. So it just tells me in my head, again, the things that I want to fix, the things that mean the most to me. But then again, I'm able to still remind myself in my head, shh, you're not supposed to be thinking about any of this. You're supposed to just be silencing your mind. So it can be, again, so if you can imagine a clear brain, like just whiteness, clear. A completely clear mind. That means you have room to pop one idea into your brain and let that idea spread. And boom, then you take action with it, then you create it. So meditation helps a shit ton. You know, meditation is nothing more than being able to talk to yourself, you know, to the real you, to the highest, bestest you can possibly be. And yeah, to wrap up that video, this pretty much sums it up. This is how you can, you know, start to gain self-awareness back, and in essence, become the best you can possibly be. If we can all just close our eyes real quick and pretend, oh wait, we all have to close our eyes, and just imagine the best you can possibly be. You know, just sitting there doing what they do best. You know, 2 years from now, whenever, tomorrow, that's who you really are. And all you have to do is eliminate everything that isn't that. All the other voices and opinions that aren't that, say goodbye, because they're no longer serving you. Right now, what's going to serve you is you being at your best. Okay, everyone. So I hope everyone has had a really good week and an awesome day. And I wish you all the best of luck in this journey. And peace and love. One more time for the sky.